Welcome to Travel Market Life, your companion for industry insights and professional business development. Travel Market Life. Join us by webcast, video or podcast.
Hello and welcome back to Travel Market Life. I'm your host Ryan Haynes, and in today's episode we look at the cruise line industry with Andy Harmer, Managing Director of CLIA UK and Ireland. It's all about the latest research that comes from the Cruise Lines International Association, which shows that travellers from the UK and Ireland embarked on 2.3 million cruise vacations in 2023, exceeding the previous record, up from 1.7 million in 2022. The Mediterranean remained the top choice for UK and Ireland cruise goers, with 35% travelling there, followed by 29% to Northern Europe and 12% to the Caribbean, among the top 3 destinations in 2023. Exploration destinations saw a significant 53% increase in passenger numbers, while the average age of cruisers also dropped to 55.1, with average cruise duration extended to 10.1 days, and 28% of cruisers being part of larger multi-generational groups. We'll be learning a bit more about the insights of this data from Andy throughout this interview.
Travel Market Life.
Travel Market Life is backed by Haynes Marcoms, a B2B marketing communications PR consultancy specialising in the technologies, travel, hospitality and property sectors. Create meaningful connections and visibility to grow. Haynes Marcoms cuts through the noise to resonate with target buyers, decision makers and influencers. From contextualizing your mission to positioning your value proposition, Haynes Marcoms helps you address the issues that matter. Marketing, PR and social. Build profile, gain momentum, shape strategy with Haynes Marcoms.
Travel Market Life.
Thanks, Andy, for joining us. Now, you released some really fascinating data into the cruise industry and how that's been evolving really over the last year, and particularly how that's been growing overall for the sector. And what is particularly interesting is the total number of cruises that have taken has rose from 1.7 million in 2022 to 2.3 million in 2023. What does this mean for the industry, and what are we expecting from 24?
Yeah, so our data looks back on the previous year. So this is 2023 data, and what we do is we collect all of that data directly from the cruise line so that we can have that verified. And I think it summarizes what we all felt 2023 was like, which was a bit of a moment for the cruise industry. So, you know, our recovery from our years of COVID was quicker than we thought. We knew that the British public loved to take a cruise holiday and that they would be keen to get on board as quickly as possible again once we restarted operations. I think we have seen a significant increase in the number of people who are trying a cruise for the first time, and that's reflected in those figures. So not only is it a big increase on 2022, but it's also a big increase on our last biggest year, which was 2019, when we were just around the 2 million figure. And some of that is because we're capacity led. So actually we've seen an increase in the number of ships being launched over the last 3 years, but that's managed growth, about 3.4% each year. But a lot of it is the fact that the British and Irish are trying a cruise for the first time. And I'd love to say that's happened very quickly, but actually it's probably been 150 years in the making, in that, you know, we've always been a great nation for maritime. Our interest in cruising has grown over the past 5 to 10 years, but we really have seen that rapidly increase since 2019 and after the COVID years. And we're really enjoying that moment of people trying to cruise for the first time, because, of course, most people, once they've cruised once, will cruise again. So that gives us a good opportunity and a good start for 2024 and beyond as well.
I mean, I know that 2020-21 was a pinnacle year for cruise, for being able to introduce so many new people to that sector. And there was a bit of a fear that you might see a massive drop off. But looking at these numbers, we are seeing that people are picking up that cruise again for a second, third, fourth time.
Yeah, I think it looks like it's that sustained growth. And as you say, it's difficult to capture what some of the trends in 1 year's data, but the data seems to be supporting what we're hearing, which is that from our travel agent partners, particularly who play a pivotal role in the distribution of cruise holidays, they are telling us that people are certainly switching to cruise. I think there's a number of reasons for that. I think firstly, we're perceived very much as offering great value for money. We are one of the most inclusive holiday types that you can take. And I think value and the value proposition has really grown and developed over the past couple of years. But I think secondly, people tried a cruise maybe in summer of 2021 when there were very few other options. So we had lots of ships sailing around the UK waters in summer 21. And so I think that attracted an audience that maybe we wouldn't have reached before. But then we've had that ongoing investment by the cruise industry in new ships and new features, new dining, new entertainment, etc., across their existing fleet. That really means that we've been listening to our customers. We've been listening to the guest feedback. We've created holidays that are incredibly desirable, taking people to amazing places, and all at great value for money. So I think as a value proposition and as a holiday choice, we've certainly seen in 2023 figures that message is getting through and that we're attracting a record audience.
Now let's deep dive into some of the other numbers that you've got here, and this is really around sort of the booking patterns and interest of your cruisers to date. That exploration destinations saw a significant increase, 53% in passenger numbers. Can you tell me what exploration destinations are and what is this telling us about the market at the moment?
Yeah, it's a really interesting stat, actually. So we knew that we had seen lots of interest in expedition growing, and I think people are looking at bucket list destinations. They're looking at places that maybe they've thought that they would like to travel to, but have now made the decision that they will now travel to. And expedition cruising is one of those holiday choices where we take guests to the Arctic, to Antarctica, to places like the Galapagos, to Borneo, to the Kimberley region of Australia, etc. So these are incredible places. And we have genuinely seen an interest in demand for that. But we've also seen, again, investment by the cruise industry in ships that can take our guests there. And they are certain type of ships. And that investment means that we now have that increased capacity to take people there. So I think we are therefore seeing that translate into numbers. Those figures don't tell the total expedition story, because actually expedition ships can go to places that aren't necessarily aligned with expedition cruising. So actually some of them sail in Europe, some of them around places like Scotland, for example, which won't show up in those figures. But we have seen that interest. And I think it's interest that comes from the destinations themselves, the wildlife, the scenery, that sense of being off the beaten track, but also that sense of traveling with very like-minded people, which again has always been an appeal of cruising. So these ships generally take around 200 to 300 guests, so they're smaller. They have a smaller guest number on board. And as I say, like-minded people traveling to amazing places. And that's the increase that we've seen.
Now, one of the other interesting aspects is the demographics. Now, we know the boomer generation has a lot of disposable income. They're looking at a lot more focus on cruises and being able to tick off a lot of these bucket list destinations. However, the age of cruises is dropping from 55.1 years to 56.1. While it's just a year, is it a big thing for the industry? What does it mean in the grand scheme of things?
It is a big thing for the industry. So down to one of its lowest levels for as long as I can remember, actually. And I think it reflects the fact that, again, the cruise industry has focused on increasing the demographics that would be interested in taking a cruise holiday. So one of the changes that we've seen over the past 10 years in shipbuild is that we've been able to build slightly bigger ships if we want to. And that allows the cruise lines to then put on board those ships more entertainment venues, more dining, more activities, more family facilities. So that at certain types of year, on certain types of ship, they will attract families and younger cruisers. We have said for the past couple of years that there is a cruise for everyone. And I think this development, this opportunity to take families and younger couples onto our cruises would change slightly the demographic of Brits who take a cruise. So it is, as you say, just 1 year, and it does bring it down slightly, but I think it does reflect that ability of the industry to attract younger couples and families. But I think there's slightly more to it than that, in that the industry actually is geared up regardless of age, for everybody. And so actually in the UK, we have one of the oldest average age of cruiser in the world. We have brands specifically for people over 50, for example, that sell. So there is that mix, but I think we'll see that continue to ebb and flow. But actually, we have an aging population in the UK. We may not see that average age come down very much in the next few years, but I think it does reflect that slight shift in our appeal.
I mean, this is the average age. So you've got people who are a lot older and people who are a lot younger, which is obviously, as you say, fantastic. Even if the age is getting, the population's age is getting older, for as long as I guess this average age doesn't change much, you are covering a wider span of demographics, which is very exciting. And I guess tapping into that, and you did sort of like adhere to this, just to mention, you did make reference to this just now about the ship builds and how that's diversifying. That 28% of cruisers are part of this larger multi-generation groups. And we're seeing much more of sort of group travel across generations now. And from your research, that 3 or more age categories is part of those multi-generational groups. Why is it becoming popular? And what particular developments that are really attracting the younger generations?
Yeah, it's a great question. Actually, we saw that change in appeal to multi-generational groups sort of in 2022, and we wondered whether it would be temporary. We wondered whether that was a reflection of the fact that for a couple of years we weren't able to travel nor spend as much time as we would want with our wider family. So therefore, that may have led to everyone cruising together in multi-generational groups in 2022. But actually, we've seen that even strengthen further in 2023. And I think, yes, as you say, some of that refers to the fact that the cruise industry now appeals to multi-age groups. It appeals to a much wider demographic. And I think the unique thing about the cruise industry and a cruise holiday is that during the day, people can go off safely on the ship and do their own thing. And then they can come together for lunch and dinner, talk about their day, have an evening or an afternoon together and really share the moment while still having the opportunity to create the holiday that they want. The same is true in destination. So when the ship is in port, again, we have family-focused excursions, or we have excursions that would appeal to different age groups. Or, of course, the guests can debark and explore as a group themselves. So I think much of it is down to that product development. I also think, we talk a lot about age, but actually one of the shifts we've seen separate to age is actually the mentality of our guests, because even if you're an older guest, actually that spirit of adventure, that spirit to go to multiple destinations, to do lots of different things, to go off the beaten track, continues to be a thing that we know our guests like to do. And I think, again, that helps us to appeal to that wider demographic.
Wonderful. Now, I mean, there's so many more other insights, and you can get those insights by looking at the description in the podcast. But Andy, is there any other insights from the report that you'd like to highlight that is particularly fascinating and interesting to you?
Yeah, I think destination is always the interesting thing for me for cruise. One of the real reasons that people take a cruise is that chance to visit multiple destinations in one holiday, unpack only once, let the cruise ship do the hard work. And actually, the most dramatic thing about our favorite destinations hasn't changed at all over the past 10 years. So we love the Mediterranean. We know that. That's always been our number one cruise destination. It's the chance to visit multiple countries, generally good weather, certainly that choice of experience in the destinations as well, whether you want it as a city break or a beach vacation, or to try some of the vineyards or to do some of those cultural experiences that are on offer. So Mediterranean has always been number one as long as I've been in the industry, and it continues to be so. So the appeal of the Med is great to see. Northern Europe is our second favoured, and that's certainly the UK, Iceland, Norwegian coast, etc. So those haven't changed really, but I think that's great. I think that's reassuring that the industry is focused on the right areas in the world, but also shows again that diversity of destination is a really important part of our increased demand this last year.
Now, looking also at some of the, I guess, behavioural data and some of the feedback you get from travellers, there's a bit of a love-hate relationship with cruising, isn't there? Why is that, do you think? And do you feel that you're sort of breaking down some of these perceptions?
It's a good question. Actually, we've had the same, I think, misconceptions for, again, as long as I've been in the industry. I think I think people are more open to taking a cruise holiday now than maybe they were 5-10 years ago. And I think that's reflected in all of the research that I've seen. And I think that's testament to the hard work that's done both by the cruise lines, but also by our travel agent partners in talking about the cruise experience in a way that holidaymakers are open to. And actually, the percentage of people open to cruising is higher now than it has been for some time. Which means that they are listening, that they do understand more about the cruise experience. Because, of course, for those people who've never cruised before, they probably don't know what the cruise experience offers, what that destination experience offers, and so on. But I do. So that sentiment has shifted, but we still have some work to do. We know that we still have some work to do as an industry to explain our story, to tell the story of cruise, to explain that value, but also to really talk to those generations or to those holidaymakers who haven't considered it yet. I think the good stat is once people have tried a cruise, they are overwhelmingly likely to cruise again. And I think that says a lot about the experience, but also the work that's done by the cruise lines once they're on board.
I mean, we do kind of see that you get these ships and they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but it's not just big ships that do cruise. It is also smaller fleets as well, isn't it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I prefer to big ships, which I shouldn't keep talking about our big ships. They make up about a third of all of our global fleet. A third are in our mid-sized ship range, and then a third are some of the smaller ships, like the expedition ships that I spoke about. So we are actually in a place where the global cruise fleet is all fairly well balanced. And actually, some guests love our bigger ships. It gives them more choice, more options during the day and in the evening. And some people love our smaller ships, those small ships that are able to get into places that some of the bigger ships aren't. And we'll continue to build ships in all different categories, going to all different destinations so that we can continue to offer a great holiday to many, many people.
I was going to say, because we are seeing cruise capacity and fleets increase, how is this forecast to change over the coming years, just so that we can get an idea as to the options that are available to us?
Yeah, absolutely. So we continue to grow, as you say, and actually that investment in new ships continued even during the pandemic, but we are seeing growth. Our growth is around 3 to 5% each year. So it's very managed growth. It's very much about planning for the future. We have shipyards in Europe that build the majority of ships. They can only create and build so many ships in a year. So that keeps our capacity growth down. But what it does mean that in the next 4 or 5 years, we'll be closer to 40 million globally taking a cruise holiday, which would be a record. But of course, we take them to all corners of the planet on ships of all different shapes and sizes. So, we continue that growth and investment, but it is very much managed and very much small percentage each year.
All right. Now, as a boat or ship enthusiast, then, Andy, you must be. New ships coming to market. Are there any that you're particularly excited about?
Oh, that's a very difficult question. I love them all equally, of course. But I think, so this year in the UK, for example, we have Queen Anne joining. I guess we should be excited about that. It's the first new Cunard ship for 14 years. They are up to 4 ships operating now, which is something they haven't done for a good long time. It's always great to see a ship that's really focused on the UK market, of course, international guests as well. But, we have a great love of Cunard as a brand in the UK. So that'll be very exciting. But actually, there's lots of new ships coming, including some of the smaller ones, for example, for Explorer Journeys, very much in that ultra luxury mark. We've already seen Icon of the Seas launch and operate for the first time by Royal Caribbean, which is the biggest cruise ship afloat. So lots of choice coming, lots of new ships coming. And actually, it's always very exciting to see a new ship coming because they'll be most up to date. But what a lot of people don't realize is actually even the existing fleet is refurbished every 3, 4, 5 years. So that investment continues even in existing fleet to bring them up to spec. And that's reflected, I think, again, in how customers repeat.
Tell us about CLIA. What is the organization all about?
So we're Cruise Lines International Association. So we work with around 55 cruise lines around the world who operate the vast majority of the ships in the world. which is why I can't have a favorite ship or I can't have a favorite destination. But and actually what's great is they all offer something different. But we bring together the cruise lines in order that we can work together on things like sustainability, in terms of safety and health and all of those things to keep that cruise industry heading in the right direction. And then into that community, we bring ports and destinations, we bring travel agents, and really we create a community that supports each other, that learns from each other, that does business with each other. So we do events, we offer travel agents resources, we bring our cruise lines together to discuss some of the issues I spoke about. And so we do a lot of work, both from a promotional perspective, but also actually working with governments, working with health authorities, working with each other to kind of learn and develop and keep leading the way.
And how can you become a member?
So if you're a travel agent partner, then details on our website, cruising.org. But if you're interested in joining as a non-travel agent, then there are contact details on our website where you can contact us and we will send you details.
And at the end of May, this month, you have the CLIA conference.
Yes.
This is something that happens, I believe, every year. Tell us about that and what people can expect from that.
Yes, it's a great event. We started it in Dover, Port of Dover, in about 2007, and it has developed and grown. And essentially, it brings together our UK travel agent audience plus travel agents from Ireland and across Europe. We bring travel agents together to meet with our cruise lines for a day of conference and inspirational speakers to understand the opportunities and trends and things that are coming, plus the networking opportunities that provides. And then actually our travel agent partners get a real opportunity to see some of the products. So they'll get ship visits on a couple of those days as well to see some of the great ships that sail in and out of Southampton. So it's a great coming together. Actually, this year it'll be our biggest, will be around 850, 900 delegates descending on Southampton and coming away hopefully invigorated and inspired and ready to keep growing our industry in a safe and sustainable way.
That's absolutely excellent. Andy, thank you ever so much for those insights today. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us here on Travel Market Life.
Thank you very much.
For more, go to Travel Market Life. The music Sensation by Zach Nelson is reproduced under license from Storyblocks. Travel Market Life is a Haynes Marcoms digital marketing agency production, serving the travel and technology industries.